Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Smudcast number 718, Anime's Everyman Problem. Now, if that sounds weird to you, that's because it sounds a bit weird to me as well. I don't know that the Everyman as a trope, in case you guys don't know what the Everyman is, it's the relatable character anyone watching a story or watching a movie, reading a book, goes, oh, I get this guy. He's just the average dude going about his day, the Luke Skywalker going, oh, this is life, this is how it goes, and then something happens to them, and they have to adapt to it. So it's the concept of the guy or girl that's just average and everyone can relate to on some basic level, whether it's family or job or school or whatever. So I don't think that's a problem on itself. That's not an issue.
There is even a classical stage play about the Everyman. It's called Everyman.
Yeah. Yeah, it's by itself, tropes are neither good nor bad for the most part, and the Everyman's the most neutral, standard thing. It's actually a good idea in most cases because some stories, let's say Konosuba is a great example. You have, what's his name? Kazuma? Anyway.
Kazuma?
Yeah,
something like
the
that.
main male character. He's a bit of a perv. He's a bit of a weirdo, but compared to everyone else around him, he's the everyman. He's so normal in comparison to all the goofy characters around him.
He stands out by not being special.
By not being, a pervert, like an uber pervert or a crazy obsessed magical person or what have you. So that is what we latch onto, and he kind of plays as the straight man in a lot of the jokes because everything around him is so goofy. So
is that why the paladin girl is so utterly perverted, so that his perversion just comes across as that's just normal level?
Kind of.
Yeah, she get high. She likes to getting beat up.
Yeah, there's
but if
she has satisfaction.
If he wasn't there, he would be the pervert of the story.
Well,
like
essentially,
in every other anime.
there is a scene in they get a house somehow. I can't remember how the process they get the house, but there's a bath scene, and she's pretty much throwing herself at him in her weird perverted way, and he would be like, "Well, he's a pervert. Obviously, this is his opportunity to have some sexual relations," and he shies away from it. And you're like, "Oh, okay. I guess. I mean, that's interesting because I thought he would totally go for it because he's always doing, stealing panties with his steel skill or acting like a goofball." So I was like, okay.
But it's about girls he's actually interested in.
Right. That's
and not crazy weirdos that you don't know what she's gonna do once she has him.
Well, the thing is, they have a scene as well later on. Is it later on or prior to that where he's at her mansions, like her household's home, where he's acting like a butler kind of caregiver person, and she's like also drooling or dripping all over him. And he's just playing it cool because he realizes he's in this crazy house that he doesn't want to be in, and he has to keep alive. So there's this good reason for his perversions to be just the right amount, and not to go over the edge. Because with her around, it's like, oh my God, she's nuts. What do we do with her? So yeah, the Everyman is the reason to have a character whose baseline, what the hell is going on? Whether it's a comedy, whether it's a drama, whether it's a science fiction world, and that's just to relate to as much as possible. So how that's a problem in anime, I don't know.
I mean, it's bad if the Everman doesn't have a personality, but otherwise, Kazuma, I don't know, whatever it is, the main character of Konosuba, at least have a personality. Even I, who doesn't watch Konosuba that much, I know about his personality because of memes and what people tell me about the show.
Yeah, I mean, you could use an Everyman as like an empty vessel sort of facade of a character who's just sort of nods and goes, "Oh, that's weird," and goes about the story, or you could give him a personality and make him part of the plot in a very meaningful way. So it's not like you just drop in a guy who's just the average at everything. Obviously, he has to be within the world. He has to be a character who has a setting and a plot of some kind, and a personality would certainly add to the the watchability of an anime. So I'm really curious what this gentleman has to say about anime Everyman, because I can't think of an individual where I went, gee, this protagonist, or gee, this character is so average. And it's not just one. It has to be across anime as a whole to say there's a problem.
My main problem with Everyman is not that they are, oh god, this guy is so average. It's like, Jesus Christ, this guy is so overpowered. That's my problem with the Everyman in anime that I see.
They wouldn't be an Everyman, I don't think, in that regard. If he's overpowered, maybe an isekai protagonist would be overpowered in general, sure. But at that point,
Isekai Cheat Magician is my favorite example of how to do this badly.
Okay.
You get the Everyman into the magical world, and he gets the absolute super overpowers that nobody else has and should have, even among magic users. And that's shit. Because it's also boring and bland. Konosuba, on the other hand, Kazuma hates the madness and then eventually embraces it out of necessity of the wackiness of the world in a sort of cynical way, and that makes it fun.
Yeah, especially when it is a parody or a joke of the genre as a whole, that he is the sort of the baseline to bounce all the comedy off.
Doing a serious story, plain serious story without wacky comedy, with Everyman characters, I would say, is difficult because that requires an actually well-written story and interesting problems.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just check the stats of this video. Came out September of last year, has about 420,000 views, and seems to be well received for a 20-minute video. Okay, maybe there is a problem with the anime Everyman. I have no idea. Let's get going.
I love anime, but most anime is watching. There. I said it. Doesn't matter if it's in this world or another, anime has just hit that oversaturation point where there's too much of it, and quality control.
Okay, so
press the pause button.
Yeah, there is no problem with having too much anime. That's not an issue.
Yeah,
honestly, if you are oversaturated with something, you probably should just stop watching and go to another place.
He made the not cardinal sin, but the average fan problem of any genre. He started to use up the creme de la creme in something, in a medium, and now he has to look for the other stuff that is not the best of the best. And then he notices, 90% of the stuff I like is actually crap. Just
wow,
like
he
metal.
discovered the Sturgeon laws.
Exactly.
I don't know, because
most of anime is crap. Yes,
I don't know.
That is statistically true.
We've had. I don't know
Just
if you
like
guys
Hollywood.
are aware of how much anime is released in Japan every season. We're talking 4 times a year. We're talking around 30 to 40 new shows every season.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so
most of the stuff we never see. So it's never localized.
Right.
Honestly, probably 10 of those, 1 or 2 of those shows getting released are actually good.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll get the 3 or 4 shonen stuff that's always popular. So people assume, it's popular in Japan. We'll bring it over here as well. And you might get one of those 2, like Jujutsu Kaisen or whatever. But there'll be these weird ones that no one knows about and don't get translated because either no one cares, they don't get the views, but they could be good.
But when they're so bad, they don't even get fan subs, then that does mean something.
Right.
Yeah.
Because even the most obscure 1 episode, 10-minute thing is usually fan sub.
Right. Yeah. So this has always been this way. And if he's complaining now, he has to be very specific of what is oversaturated. Like he could say isekai, and I'd be like, I agree, isekai is oversaturated. But it's been that way for like 8 years now. So
yeah, the decade is almost over. Somebody will come up with a new genre that has existed probably always, but hasn't had its fashion decade.
yeah, and it's
like action
Fishing
movies in
mega.
Hollywood.
and it's just like anything else where you have multiple options. Let's say, I don't know, Chinese food in your area. There's always like 12 restaurants, and there's always the one that I find that's excellent. Yes, we're still oversaturated, but that one is excellent, so I don't care about those others. The same way he should not care about all the isekai that he doesn't know about, because whoop-de-doo, good for them.
Yeah. Have you noticed that number at the end of a Hollywood movie?
The number.
There's a number
Nope.
at the end of every Hollywood movie. It is these days it's usually five digits. That is the number of release. Every Hollywood production gets a release number. We are in the 60,000s right now.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff you could watch that you have never heard of and never want to watch, because that also includes all this B-movie garbage that makes you barf, that you could only stand watching with friends and laughing at how bad it is.
I don't know. Sharknado is the only B movie that I can stand watching.
Are you sure about that? Oh my god.
I am sure about that because
You know, that is when you say that is a challenge.
I don't think I ever want to go on the record for, hey, someone challenged me to go watch some B movies that are worse than Sharknado. I don't think I want to exercise that challenge.
I mean, if you want to watch Barbie, that's an option too.
Well, I don't think it's a B movie, but people have asked me to do that, so yeah.
It has vibes. It's like a B movie script
Okay.
with too much money.
That's
So wait. You mean that it is a normal blockbuster movie?
it's a Marvel film. Okay, great. Anyway,
By Hollywood's current standards, yes.
yeah, all right. Anyway, let's see what this guy has to say. So far, we're not too impressed.
Control at the wheel, meaning you can and will find some of the most boring, cliche shows imaginable, with easily some of the worst protagonists I've ever seen, with even peak women being unable to save these basic-ass men. That's right, we're talking about anime's Everyman problem, and since for basically...
Hasn't he mostly been showing Sword Art Online right now?
What is he talking about? That's not an everyman problem. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that as well. But hasn't he been showing Sword Art Online for the most part?
Well, yeah, that's definitely not an everyman. That's a god character who's running around.
That's also an overblown bullshit anime with bullshit writing, and I think I don't know why it still has a fan base, but it is generally agreed upon that it's bad.
Right. Yeah. I don't even watch it.
I think the deep question is why Japanese need the Everyman, because as far as I know, there's a lot of blank states in manga and anime because Japanese weebs like to see themselves in the stories, not like Western weebs who just like the vibes of manga and anime. Japanese weebs try to see themselves on the story. I think that is a deeper issue than
for us, the Western,
trope.
For us, the Japanese sarariman or the Japanese need is already a foreign creature, so that we don't identify as easily with. But in regards to isekai, the transfer to another world and then doing your life there, that works well enough. Despite the Japanese background, because you're basically blank slating then, just going there with your common sense.
I mean, yeah, for sure. Every story that you go to another world, the main character will always be the straight person, the straight character that tries to understand the world, and we understand the world through the eyes of the main character. You can see that in Alice in the Matter, whatever it is in English, the Alice in the Wonderworld story. You can see that in the Wizard of Oz, and I'm pretty sure that there's more going to Otherworld stories.
Junikoki.
Yeah, that one.
You should watch that, even though it was never finished. But you should watch it. It's good.
Alrighty, let's keep going.
No reason. Video I did on the subject just hit 2 million views. Only God in the algorithm knows why this one went off. I figured I might as well do the sequel. Because if you thought Hollywood had a problem pandering to its audience, trust me, you haven't seen anything yet. Now, context. For those of you who don't know, a few months back, I made a video about the second most Pennsylvania, Johnny and Mavis. The love story about everyone's 118-year-old goth crush hooking up with the first man she ever met, because a random stoner was just the perfect guide to end centuries of prejudice, right after he stole their women, despite having more chemistry with their dads. Now, I don't like Johnny. He's fine in the first film, but he does highlight this Western trend of a main character being made painfully bland to serve as an audience.
Has anyone watched these movies?
Nope.
I did. All 3.
Tell us about it, Matthias.
Is it related?
It's mainly a kids show. Like if it is a normal guy seeing the world of monsters and falling in love with the daughter of Dracula. And the second movie is mainly about Dracula trying to make amends with his half-breed grandson, because his grandson is half human and half vampire. And the third movie is about him too, because he's trying to fall in love with the Van Helsing's daughter.
Let me guess, because the stitches look drawn on. It's a reverse monster in disguise story.
Yeah, he's just he's just being disguised as a Frankenstein.
Okay.
It's a kids movie. Like, there's nothing too deep on it. It's fine if you want to watch with your niece or your little brother or little sister. Even if it is there is some writing problems that I couldn't find. I think some people who are better than me will probably find. But I don't know. I recommend just to watch with kids. There's no shenanigans on it. It's a very goofy children's movie.
All right.
Surrogate, who's just serious that we can have a character who studios think is just like us. It can have all the reactions and questions we would have in this situation, all while
But I'm not a stoner.
I don't think he's an everyman. He's very lost. He's very lost on the world. He is when he first gets in the hotel. He doesn't even notice that it is a monster hotel. Like, he's not at all equal to us.
Yeah, the characteristic.
Okay, so he's an idiot. Okay, he's an idiot stoner. That's
he's basically goofy, man. He's a goofy stoner, if you want to use that.
The maker of the video is projecting himself onto everyone, because he believes this guy reflects him. So he believes that everybody is like this?
I want to say he's trying to project himself in Johnny. He may be misguided. He may be being misguided.
Well, what's going on is he believes that the rationale or the personality or whatever social element of Johnny he can relate to, therefore he thinks this guy is called the Everyman without actually investigating what the trope means. I think that's what's going on here.
Perhaps. I think he is misguided. I don't think I think he can see the trope, but I don't think he can apply it right. At least in the case of Johnny.
I have a new hellish idea to improve the public school curriculum.
Yep.
Your respective language, so German in German, English in English. We throw out all this garbage that they do, and instead, every time you have this lesson, you get a thesaurus and reread the thesaurus of your language. It is horribly boring, but you will finally understand what words mean.
Okay. Anyway, let's see.
And
10 years of your life.
Let's see where he's
It might
going.
work.
where he's going with this, because you can mischaracterize a trope, and that's fine. But we're going to try and bend this around to the argument to make more sense of it, because I'm sure he has some point to make.
And
being unnaturally rewarded with a wife, respect, and not having to pay rent at the end. For basically just existing. The Everyman trope has its place. It's a valuable narrative tool for getting the audience up to speed in an organic way, so that other characters don't come off as unnatural explaining every piece of information to people who should definitely already know this. This is a problem movies have had for years. It's the only reason Chris Pratt had a career. But for all the crap I gave Hotel Transylvania, it does not hold a candle to the bullshit anime gets away with.
They've started me off with as a joke. If you're gonna summon lazy-ass kids like me to your world, you better overhaul your crappy welfare program!
Now, I love anime. Always have, always
That's
will.
the
The sad fact about getting older is admitting some of the stuff you used to love as a kid was terrible and porn with extra steps. Everyone should have their guilty pleasures, and younger kids should be able to watch their power fantasies without slander. Yet it's kinda
Wait, you've never accidentally ran into the crotch of a girl in your school?
No.
You'll have
Why would I do
boring
that?
Well, it's not about that you want to do that, it's that it happens on accident.
Please, not everyone lives in Germany, okay?
I bet you that most of these things, maybe aside from the super science stuff, have at one point happened to someone. They're not all just made up. Some turned into recurring tropes because we need to do a joke. Yeah, let's do this. The thing that I know. But I think that some of these have had their origins in real life.
Well,
If you've experienced enough, you will start to notice that real life can be full of nonsense you wouldn't put in a story.
he was referring to, what the hell was it? I can't remember what I was going to say. Let's rewind it. Oh, dirty pleasures or things that we like. Like he showed Nisekoi. That's one of my dirty pleasure animes. And yes, I would say the main character there is so straightforward. Like his characteristics are very basic. Like he's good at cooking, and all the girls around him are absolutely crazy and like superhero level weirdness, that he is normal by comparison. So it's always like, okay, this is a love comedy. How is he going to relate to the crazy police daughter's obsession of, like, there's always the girl who's like completely straightforward, completely passionate, never going to lie, and she's the one who says, I love you, ba 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 ba. He's like, oh my God. And all the other girls are like, I could never do that. And it's like, all right, okay. And you know, there's the superhero chick, there's the one that everyone thinks he's going to end up with. It's all these characters. So
So it's a normal herring anime.
your typical boring, yeah. Only it's. I think it has this locket. And there's who has the key to the lock, and the lock's around his neck, and it's the key to his heart, and all this other jazz. It's like, yeah, okay, we get it. There's nothing inherently magical or special about it, but it's just funny. I like it. So is he the Everyman? Yes.
No, mainly the herring anime main characters. The main problem is that it's not they are the Everyman, is that they are too dull.
Well,
like, how can you not see
in that story,
all these girls?
yeah, in that story, he's not blind that the girls like him. He's just scared as shitless because they're so freaking strong. Like they punch him and he goes into the sky. You know, that sort of stupid trope where little star bursts and it's daytime. He's like, bing, and the girl punches her up into the atmosphere. It's like, so he's scared of the women, and we understand that, so he's not going to just jump at any of them, even though he likes them. So it's...
Okay, that's far better.
Yeah, no, it's understood why this is going on, but it's not... I wouldn't attribute that to the Everyman trope. I would just say that's an aspect of oh my God, I'm going to piss people off, or maybe it's part of being the Japanese shonen character who's always upright and sensitive about women's feelings and doesn't want to, be a pervert and all this other jazz. So that's something else. It's not about the everyman at that point. It's about the dynamics of all the relationships in the story. So maybe this guy is taking a very surface level and not understanding.
Maybe. I can see that happening. Yeah, usually I do that too sometimes.
Yeah, I don't. It's not a complicated anime. I'm sure there's lots of animes out there that you can analyze that are not hard to grasp, and the shonen stuff is definitely not hard to grasp, especially the romance comedies. So I don't know, man. I'm getting a little iffy on this gentleman's analysis so far of the Everyman.
Different now. Or back in the day, all you had was like 2 channels and piracy with maybe 20 shows in between all of them.
What?
What is he talking about?
You believe we only had 20 anime to watch in the 90s? Do you know what I suckled through my modem? Bloody hell!
Yeah.
I may not.
Anyway,
we may have been limited to only downloading 20 anime series throughout the 90s because the connection was so slow. But there was much more available.
By the way, there's a super chat from Copperdow.
Oh, hey Copperell, thank you, sir. Johnny is like us, into big Tata Goth GFs. Okay, I mean, good.
Not really, because Mavis doesn't have a good plot, a B plot. She's.
I would have to watch the film to know, but I want to know where he's going with this because he's just sort of using the trope improperly.
Crunchyroll is dropping an entire season's worth of anime every single week. There'll always be good shows, but the trash, there be a lot more of it, and it's all identical. With there seemingly being a race to the bottom for who can rip off a better show the fastest.
Okay. I give you homework to listen to 10 death metal bands you have never heard of and tell me the difference.
As a metalhead, I can say there isn't a lot. There isn't a lot of difference.
Yeah, especially not with the mid to low tier stuff from the garage.
Yeah.
And that's this. This is just stuff that runs, stuff that's made so that something is made, basically, in the hopes that it's the next great thing, but without a thought put to it. It's just riding the hype.
Yeah, this is not an inherent problem with anime. This is just people making money, doing a thing they love, learning from other creators, whether you're making a pizza or a cartoon. It's like, okay, we're going to do what this thing did. We're going to borrow from over there. Everything's influencing everything else. Yeah. So I don't see what the inherent problem is. Plus, he's identifying it with a trope, which is not the issue at all. So where is he going?
I think the main...
a good example. Here, because the standard delivery food is pizza. And we do have... I think 2 good Italians in town, of which one doesn't deliver anymore because he only had bad experiences with drivers. That aside, way over 90% of all the other fast food delivery places that make pizza are run by Arabs. They don't know how to make pizza, but it's good enough as cheap fast food. Well, cheap, it isn't cheap anymore, but it's good enough as food on delivery that you pay a little bit of money for, but it is not the same as that properly made stuff.
I would say...
I thought Germany was a Turkish country.
Don't remind me.
Well, flatbread is ubiquitous in any culture, whether it's Mexican or Indian or French. They all have their own version. So,
there's one place that puts sauce hollandaise on everything.
Well, I can respect it because, they like to call it pizza, and I think that's respectful to, hey, we're trying to do what the Italians do, even though they get 80% of the way there. It's never going to be Italian pizza, but that's fine. No one can do the authentic, subjective interpretation of what is pizza. So That's okay.
Smut. Here in Northern Germany, people are honest enough about that they call their flatbread dish with stuff on top not pizza, but flame cake.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
The W.R. Winter, 28 minutes to food analogy. New Smudcast record. Yes.
Well, that's not an
There it
analogy.
is.
That's not an analogy. That's like reality. This is the thing. You're going to copy something. It doesn't matter if you're a writer, if you're making cake. It doesn't matter. You're going to copy something because that something works. People want that other thing. And you go, hey, wait a second. I can do that. I'm better than that. Let me prove it. Let me put my soul out there and show you I can do it too. That's all it is. That's the same with media. So saying a rom-com is going to do the same tropes with, 4 girls all love the same guy. It's like, yeah, so what's wrong with that?
I mean, we've been doing that since time immemorial. Like, since the Greek times, we've been copying each other.
Right. So I want to know what the problem is. If he's just fed up because there's so much of it, I say, sure, no problem. There's all kinds of anime you don't like because it's derivative. I get that. But identify the problem first. Don't just say, oh, you know what? There's too many cute girls in all these animes. It's so derivative. It's like, that's not a thing. There's going to be cute anything and anything. You would not make something ugly and think that everyone's going to like it. That's not how art works.
Western cartoonists seem to think that.
Well, it's another issue entirely.
Yeah, that one I gave up a long time ago.
Anyway, yeah, I don't think aesthetics are ever going to go like, oh, let's dislike everything. Everything ugly is good. It's like, what? No. Anyway.
As pays its animators nothing, so there's no reason for any semi-popular light novel or manga to shove out a couple mil to make a 12-episode commercial that ends with them begging you to buy the rest of the series. And it feels like a lot
That's not how money making with anime works. They don't make that much on the series at all. For them to actually make money on that from you, the Westerner, the gaijin, you would have to import the BD-ROMs. There's pretty much no other way the studios will make money off of it directly.
I have read so much manga that not only are the mangakas asking you to buy their complete works, but the translators who are doing the translation for the English audience, would you please help us? I have a sick mother. We need a typesetter, blah, blah, blah. Like, everyone's asking for money. So
manga is a bit different, but the anime really...
No.
They don't
Once you're an anime,
they don't make money off of
you're
us.
right.
From the outside world, they make money off selling licenses, and that's that.
Yeah, if
you want to support them through anything except buying importing the fucking discs, which costs a lot extra, you can buy merch about the show that you like.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's easy to do. There's always merch for something, but in terms of getting
that's
to anime,
what I'm going to say.
Getting to anime, that's the top of the food chain. There's OVAs and then there's movies. After that, maybe a video game contract. I don't know. A live adaptation. I don't think so. There's more money in that, but it's very, very rare.
It was it's similar to the old American cartoon model where the cartoons were just long advertisements for toys.
Oh, in the 80s, yeah.
In a way, just with a bit more sense to it.
Yeah.
I will say that Transformers was the best example of that.
Yeah, toys with lore. I think the only thing that comes close is Bionicle.
Maybe G.I. Joe, but I never watched the cartoon.
The what?
I know the animation was way better than He-Man. That's for sure.
Anyway.
The what show?
G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe. Yeah, that never ran here.
Anyway, let's get on with this.
The stories that are written by people that only have ever watched other anime. So the stories come off as cliche.
No, dude, you don't even know half of what... An anime is based off a manga for the most part, and that is based off other manga writers and people reading them. So
or they are basically they are based on light novels sometimes.
Sometimes light novels, exactly. So it depends on what genre he's referring to, and they could have their own webcomic that they do, and then someone picks them up as a manga, and that gets translated to an anime. So it's not just anime. No, there's a whole process involved here.
And that's
I'm trying to understand his
Sorry?
Go on, Whisp.
That's even true for something old like Slayers that ran in the 90s. It was based on the manga, which was based on a light novel, which was based on the D&D campaign of the author.
Hey. Like, I'm trying to understand his problem. I'm not trying to pick it up apart for just picking it up apart. Like, yeah, Everyman trope can be some problem, but I don't know what is the issue. If you're just going to say, hey, here all these other animes that are copying each other and they are trash, like, dude, this is reality. 90% of everything is trash. Just look at Steam and go to beyond the third page. There's a lot of trash games.
All right.
Doing the tropes that's popular in the original, which is why there's so many fucking terrible isekai stories out there, or why every show now has to have a harem. By far, though, the worst thing to come out of the copy of a copy process is the protagonists. They don't exist.
Do you know where the harem comes from?
I want to know what exactly the problem is with having a lot of something. I know why isekai is bad, but you can't just say it's bad because I said so. I want to know why. Why does he think that?
Yeah, and Sword Art Online doesn't count anyway because we all hate it. Everyone hates it. Don't bring it up as an example. It's dismissed. Yeah. Nobody knows why there's more episodes made. And Naruto had an excuse because it was silly popular. Sword Art Online, no, not really. No.
Maybe Sword Art Online is actually very popular in Japan, but I doubt that it is true.
The thing is, well, in Japan you have better options to begin with, and where was I? Yeah, if you make that much content about something that one, the author has lost interest in, two, the author has completely changed his mind on anyway, you will just see everything used at least once for reasons of filling the void. Yeah, that's just a sign of bad writing.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with stealing and using ideas and tropes. It's how it's done. This is always the issue with quality of.
I mean, there's something wrong with stealing, but.
Well, no,
if you're gonna use an inspiration to write a story, there's no problem in that.
If I want to make a science fiction story, I'll steal from the best. So I'll take Asimov and I'll take Roddenberry and I'll take all the elements I like. I'm gonna twist them to make them mine because I want them to be done the right way, not in some weird broken. We don't know what to do in season 2. Let's change all the chairs around so everyone looks like they're lying on their back when they go to warp. It's like, why? There's no reason. Like, there's reasons why we want to go into writing to change things we like that have problems with.
And eventually you'll run out of how to twist things because everything's done every twist at that point. Right. Until someone figures out how to do a twist within a twist with another twist.
Oh, God.
So that it looks like something new, but if you look at it too closely, you notice, it's actually made up of other things that I already know. But it was done masterfully. And congratulations to everyone who manages to find out how to write a new story. Or write something that good that it becomes a trope, because everybody then copies it because it's that good. It was that good an idea. That's what all these things are. It's just an accumulation and summation of all the good things of writing. And if you put them badly together, well, it's like a bad meal. You can throw together all sorts of ingredients, but if you don't do that with sense to you, then it's RNG food, like in Zelda Breath of the Wild. Maybe we need to censor the outcome.
Okay. 3 minutes, 30 seconds.
They don't. This is where I really have to draw this first big distinction between my last video. While Johnny, love him or hate him, he is an everyman. He does his job as an audience surrogate. The problem that
That's not what an everyman specifically is, though. It could be, but does everyone relate to the vampire kid in that film as an everyman? I don't.
I don't think you can relate to Johnny in the sense that he is not in his ambient, in his habit, but I don't think you can relate with his personality. Like he's very goofy.
Yeah,
like he's not.
He's the character who's going to fall in love with someone. We can understand that as a guy going, "Oh my God, I like someone." Great, but that doesn't make him an everyman. I don't know.
I think he's massively conflating the everyman with the blank slate self-insert canvas character, and which also contains the silent protagonist.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
What do I do if I'm not the everyman? What do I do if I'm actually special and awesome and have overcome all this shit? And then I look at that and figure, ugh. Ugh.
And the problem is not I think we already know the answer. The answer is that the problem is not the trope; it is the writing. Divine Dragon in the chat said the same thing, that if you have a trope, you need to know how to use it before. Otherwise, it's going to be crap.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's really projecting that he doesn't like all this derivative work. And he's starting with the everyman as a avenue because there's so many protagonists that seem very similar to him. When in reality,
go on, Smut.
Well, I was going to say that because the character trope for the everyman could involve the tabula rasa that allows the audience to project themselves onto that character, but we do that with every character anyway. So it doesn't really matter whether it's a blank slate. We're gonna associate ourselves with how does this character think? Why are they thinking that? Oh, they had a backstory which was tragic, and now they hate all the elves or whatever. It's like, okay, fine. So long as I know what's going on, I'm great. But if you just say, oh, the everyman's a blank slate, therefore that's bad. Like, well, what if it's not an isekai? What if it's in any other story genre or category? This is not the right target for your ire. This is some other excuse.
And look at Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer is just tropes. It's all the classic tropes. Well, maybe not the harem. But it has all of that. There's nothing new about it. Absolutely nothing. But the execution is done so well that it is just enjoyable to watch. Even if in the back of your mind you recognize, oh, this is the super classic trope that I've seen a million times. But here it's not ripping me out of the seat. It's not killing my suspension of disbelief. It's just how it should be done.
Yeah.
And it stands out because it is done well, and most of us don't do it well. If everybody did it well, maybe it would be more boring too. But here it has a moment. It has its opportunity to shine.
Yeah, there's a element of the genre where you say this is the classic tropes within the genre, like science fiction, and then there's you take the tropes of science fiction and you twist them a bit or you turn them on their head. So that's the extra step, like Farscape is like, oh, it's an exploration, fantasy, violent, goofy comedy, like what? It's all this stuff all at once. So it's like, oh wow, if someone
Farscape is the Odyssey.
Yeah, sure, it's many things. You have to notice that as a fan of the genre as a whole and go, oh, this is different. I can respect that. And the same way you can respect a low budget one like Earth Final Conflict from Gene Roddenberry, which I don't think he ever really was taken seriously because he was long gone by then. And someone,
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Well, he also did Andromeda. Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda, I think that's what it was called.
Yeah, I only with Hercules as the main character.
Right.
And I only watched the first few episodes of that. It never gripped me.
Yeah, it's so one note sort of thing. And it's like, okay, but they tried to spice it up with the second season and never really took off. So you could see the attempt. Like, that's why I can respect a badly put together science fiction story. Let's say Lex. Lex is unique. It's unique, and I can respect their attempt to go that direction.
Yes.
Even if all the production value is crap and the music is weird and everything about it is weird, I can say, okay, I see what this guy's trying to do. I can see what the creator.
The weirdness is what makes it.
The weirdness is like, oh my god, everything is just.
You have stuff so out of whack that yeah, okay, that's proper dystopian science fiction.
Right, yeah, exactly. So even
Because
though
you're
the
well
quality
in the beginning,
even
everything.
Yeah, even though the quality is clearly not on par with the better science fiction shows at the time, you go, okay, this is what they're trying to do. With Farscape, that worked out well with the animatronics, right? It was really great. I can't believe
it was a Jim Henson production. They had the know-how.
They tried hard. It was basically like watching episode 4. You're like, whoa, they're doing this. They're doing with the practical scenes. So yeah, no, you have to understand the production value. But if you don't, then you just say, oh, it's all derivative. It's just a cheap knockoff of Star Trek, and this is all crap, and Stargate is crap, and it's all, it's like, okay, guys, come on, calm down.
What did you just say about Stargate?
That's what I mean. You'll see Stargate as just a knockoff of Star Trek or whatever. You'll be like,
how?
People can do that. People say, why would I watch?
Yeah, but because they're retarded.
That's what I mean. This is what this guy is. He's a fan saying he's a super fan. I'm an anime fan. I love all anime, but I don't like this because it's the everyman trope in the isekai genre, when he should be looking at the isekai genre more critically and saying, why is this instance of this show bad as an isekai? What is it making it wrong? Or
try to point out what animes are doing the everyman wrong, like, because there is stories that make the everyman trope in a wrongful way.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, anyway, here's Vladimir. Thank you, sir, for being a member for 21 months. Gun to your head, which the best, Coke, Mountain Dew, or Pepsi?
I fundamentally reject the premise because there's a gun in my head.
Okay, well, Diet Coke is the best Coke there is. There's no sugar, there's no calories, and that's all I got. I don't know.
I take the bullet.
Why you became the origin man to say that Diet Coke?
I don't drink these things. I have no idea which is better. I have no clue.
All of it dissolves my teeth. I take the bullet.
The aspartame. There you go.
Ugh.
I gotta say Coke because I grew up drinking Coca-Cola. So.
Or cancer-causing sugar replacements.
There you go.
Nom nom nom.
Anyway, let's get back to the video.
But I don't like that there's a gun in my head. I don't know.
I refuse to answer this question. All right, okay, fine. Anyway.
Also, I get headaches from aspartame.
Okay. Let's go.
Anime, though, is that they took it a step further. They leapt off a cliff, decided this was fine, then died going headfirst into a pile of money. These animes don't make surrogates, they're self-inserts.
Wait. What are we talking about now? That's two different things. There's either a everyman that the audience associates with their personality or their desires or their understanding of the character, and then you have a self-insert, which is the author putting themselves in the character. There's two different things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm going to say, because he started saying that the problem with the everyman trope is because they make the trope is you see the audience seeing themselves in the character. But now he brings self-insert, like, okay, either every manga author is just bland like that, or I don't know.
And the actual self-insert is what we see in Western cartoons being the death of them, because the people who do that are horrible people.
Well, I don't see anything inherently wrong doing that. It's when it's noticeable and it doesn't fit the character on screen, right?
When it's done by bad people, I'd say it turns out bad.
Okay.
You can do that if you want to. You can write that well.
That's
but
right. You can.
Most people don't.
Right.
The W.R. Winter said, technically, an everyman and self-insert can be the same if the author is a boring loser that everyone can relate. Yes, but how the authors are that bland? I'm pretty sure that only one author is like that, or at least two authors are like that.
My question is the need an everyman, or is the salaryman an everyman? And if they're both everymen,
then no one is everyman.
Yeah, but then you have different types of everyman. So is there an everyman? So what kind of demographic are you trying to appeal to with this claim? Because there are different large demographics that these can map onto.
W.R. Inter said, blank slate is a better term, though. I agree. It's better than the everyman, but it's basically the same trope.
He's generic enough that anyone can associate with them. Yeah, pretty much.
The not so subtle difference being, a surrogate is just a character who is like you. An insert is just you.
What?
No.
No.
An insert is the author. The character is the author. There is a self-insert that I remember very well, which is, I think it is actually very good. Not actually, there is two, because there is Dante in the Divine Comedy, and there is C.S. Lewis in The Great Divorce. Both authors are in this story, and it is a very good. It is a self-insert, and it is the everyman in a way, because you are seeing the weird through their eyes and trying to understand what is going on through them.
All right, so I think he's making up his own tropes as he goes, because this is obviously not what we would call it. So let's just go with what he's saying. We're using the self-insert as we would if it were called a blank slate. So
took what little character these guys had left, cut out their faces, and slapped yours right on top, with the only difference between any of them anymore being the kind of power fantasy and the size of the ocean of bitches these guys are drowning in. Now, I'll defend power fantasies. If the fights are cool and the music rocks, I'll cheer for just about anything. But even then...
The femme power fantasies? Why the femme power fantasies?
He will... to be charitable with him, I think most people don't like power fantasies, and they try to attack as a weak genre. I wouldn't say it is a weak genre. I think it is a good genre when you are a teenager, because you want to have the idea of having power. But I don't know if you need to actually defend it.
It works with comedy like Overlord.
Well, what he's saying here is he's taking the isekai genre. He's saying, as opposed to a power fantasy, which isekai genre essentially is, instead of saying the power fantasy is with the main character, it's with the harem. And you're like, okay, so all you're telling me is you want an episode where one of the side characters, one of the women in the harem, have a power-up moment, or they get their own arc or whatever. And like, that's fine, that's normal. And
he kept showing Sword Art Online for his point there about what he likes, and he's completely lost me because it sounded like contradictory garbage. So he does cheer for everyone or not? I'm confused.
I guess it's just because he likes those characters and they're women.
He likes them. The main character in Sword Art Online is a sociopath.
Oh no, he's talking about the women in them, not the main character. So I don't know why though, because when we watch an anime or read any story, yeah, we'd like the side characters to get their own arc. Of course we would. We want their own subplot to connect to the main plot and the growth they achieve. That's great. We want flashbacks. We want to understand them. And this guy's exclusively saying, well, because of isekai, I really like the femme power fantasies. So He does like power fantasies. He does like isekai. He just doesn't like the main character power.
Did he say fan power fantasy? I'm pretty sure I
Okay, let's rewind.
Defend power fantasy.
All right, let's hear it again.
Third is just you. They took what little character these guys had left, cut out their faces, and slapped yours right on top, with the only difference between any of them anymore being the kind of power fantasy and the size of the ocean of bitches these guys are drowning in. Now, I'll defend power fantasies.
Fempower. You said fempower.
No. I'm pretty sure he said defend power fantasy. He's trying.
No. Let me hear it one more time.
Slapped yours right on top, with the only difference between any of them anymore being the kind of power fantasy and the size of the ocean of bitches these guys are drowning in. Now, I'll defend power fantasies. If the fights are cool and the music rocks, I'll cheer for just about anything.
You're right. He said I'll defend. You're right.
But even then, I think it still needs to at least pretend to not be trying to sell me something. My Hero Academia may be a power fantasy for young boys, but Deku is his own character, with his own struggles. He's a shy nerd who overthinks things, but his relationships with the other characters are nuanced, and his interactions with them give him a unique voice. Compare that to something like the dude from Conception, where we have no personality, and he's just here to collect kids like Pokemon cards. There's a chance for this guy to have personality. The story won't let him have one.
No, but the argument is the main character is not as fleshed out as other main characters in other stories. I'm like, that's a fair assessment, but some stories work well when the main character is not the focus because they're the big important dude, but you want to learn about the non-big important dudes that follow the guy and grow as a result. So there's nothing wrong with that format per se, and to compare the two is fair, but you can't knock it down for being a different style of storytelling. I mean, we could write stories where all the main characters are always well developed, and then we'd have more developed characters follow him as they grow. But that means that he has to be even greater than he is for people to follow him. So it's like a power creep problem we have with some stories, where especially isekai, where the guy just keeps getting like stronger and stronger and no one can compare to him. So he has to have some major weakness, or he's got to be like starting off with, what is it called? Anything that's not related to being a hero. So you could have a housekeeping skill that no one else has. Housekeeping, what the hell is that? You can't use that in a fight. But he ends up making a tent that's magical, and you could, at the end of your day, you can go in there and you could heal up and you get all these buffs when you wake up. Like, it's something along those lines where he has a gift that is completely unrelated to the problem, but it ends up assisting all the other people around him. So there's all kinds of isekai stories like that. There's a guy who levels up by walking. He just walks around and he carries all the luggage and he helps people out and he gains skills walking and all this jazz. So there's all kinds of isekais out there where he's not the main focus. It's the other characters around him that go, oh wow, this guy's carrying all our stuff. We can move around freely a lot more, and we're lighter, and we can get experience that way. Whatever the scenario is.
But that is not the everyman trope. That's a flat art character, like a character that is flat, but everyone around him is growing up.
That's fine. In
the case what Sarcastic Chorus is trying to argue is that he doesn't like the trope of the everyman. He doesn't like the idea of someone who is kind of blank. A character that is a blank slate, that you will project yourself in the character. But again, I say that this is a deeper problem in Japan, not here, because I think the needs try to see themselves in those stories with power fantasies. That's why they're this.
I see it as he wants both character tropes or both character patterns to be in the one character, and I'm like, yeah, you could definitely ask for that. I'd love to have stories where everyone's fleshed out, but that's not the nature of the story. It's kind of like in Mass Effect 2, Shepard's just a static brick. Well, Shepard's always been a static brick. We don't expect him to grow much because all the other characters are keeping the story afloat. Because without them,
with the amount of story that there is, the amount of variation you would have to also write into that game for free games on top, it would be too much to handle.
It's the same with an anime where you focus on one character that joins the party and then another character that joins the party. There's a lot of those stories that are popular. So I don't know what the problem is with the format, aside from he doesn't like the boring main character who's just the avenue for everyone else.
Scotty in the chat said, I think the Everyman is just supposed to be a straight man who is essentially average in most regards with no real negative or positive issues, at least on the surface. Everyman is basically the blank slate.
No.
Not all Everymen are the blank slate, but every blank slate is a Everyman. That's what I'm going to say.
Anyway, his argument, his example of Deku falls even more flat than he admits, because with Deku you can't really power fantasy about him much, because most of the show you have to worry that he's going to kill himself using it. Which is stakes.
I think the struggle is what he wants more. Like, he wants these guys who have all this power to have a bit more flaws. Maybe that's what he wants. I don't know. He wants the main characters who are so powerful to change more. And I think that's a fair thing.
I mean, I would love that.
Yeah.
It is a fair wanting, because otherwise, if all the stories, I think that is his problem, that he is bored with anime. It's not that there is a problem with the Everyman. It's that he now have a finer taste for stories, and all the anime that he's watching doesn't hit that taste.
My Hero Academia is my standard. Anything that's beneath that, I hate. Oh, jeez.
Winter the Set chat says Hallmark movies exist for the same reason. Junk like this will always exist. Get over it.
Yeah. That's basically reality. Like, you always have trash things, and sometimes people just like trash. Look, everyone there's people who like the Last Jedi. Trash.
We had a genre in here that I think has died out at this point, with the generation that watched them, which was called Heimatfilme, which means homeland movies. It's nothing nationalistic. It's just movies with you could say slice of life stories in the time of youth of the people who watch it in their homelands, where everything is nice and almost paradisical, village life and such, with nice landscapes. That was Heimatfilme, and that's gone now. But they were all there wasn't much meat to any of them. They were just nice to look at and gave you nostalgic feelings.
DW Winter have another comment here. I think it is basically what we be saying. Problem is with the audience being satisfied with an aesthetically bankrupt, brain-dead power fantasy. It has nothing to do with tropes, and we are not special for noticing it. Yeah, it's basically the Japanese audience that is the problem. It's not the trope itself. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Yeah, no. Something is not jiving in this guy's analysis with me. So, anyway. We are almost 5 minutes in. We got, we're not even a quarter done. Okay.
Way of the story selling itself to horny teenagers as they use him as a way to pretend to get laid. This leads to this massive writing problem where even if the writer is talented and can make something good, servicing the fans is the main point. So no action they take can be anything other than what you'd expect, leaving them basic and doing the bare minimum, and leaving us wondering, what the fuck do they see in him? This isn't anything new, but with how much
usually in an isekai story, the hero character, the main character, does something that the other characters really need or don't get, and he's providing it. It's anything. It could be magic, could be power, it could be love, affection, attention, leadership. It doesn't matter. That's it. They like the guy. Oh, wow, you're a hero. You came out of nowhere, and you're doing a thing that you're just giving out for free, and you save my life, and you save my spirit, or whatever it is, whatever it is. It could be anything. It could be food.
I will agree with him that the blank slate trope, or the Everyman trope, doesn't work well with romantic interests, but that's what the Japanese audience wants, so I don't know.
Usually it's the guy is so nice without noticing it that he's just behaving normally, and the girl's like, oh my god, this guy's so nice in a world of wizards and warriors that are going to kill me. Why is he so nice? I don't get it. And all his Japanese sensibilities in a fantasy land rub off on the ladies. They appreciate that. So, yeah, there's lots of stories where that doesn't work. So, I don't know. There's all kinds of rom-coms out there, and why the women like the guys, we don't know.
Much anime about and how easy it is to watch, it's never felt more prominent. To Love Through is one of those easy examples I
All right, this is not a good example.
can point to. It's
Definitely
an anime that
not.
exists
If you guys have ever seen this or its derivatives, it's like, oh, this is a stupid.
It is stupid.
purely for fan service, and its main character Rito is just being a vehicle to get us to softcore porn. What started as a normal teenage boy crushing on a girl spiraled out of control immediately when a naked alien princess appeared in his bathtub and forced him to fake an engagement to keep her dad from marrying her off. Despite the fact that he's in love with someone else, he ultimately does fall for this alien girl who looks like a devil for some reason, and 20 other women. You heard me. Doesn't matter if it was his crush, her friends, her sisters, their teacher, or killer.
To Love Who came out shortly after Love Ina, if I remember correctly.
There's versions of To Love Ru. I think Darkness or Golden Darkness is the next one, and it's just ecchi anime. That's all it is. It's not a big deal.
Ecchi is not known for awesome writing, though there are exceptions.
Yeah,
that put every porn to shame and every Hollywood movie to shame, which is absolutely baffling.
Well,
where the sex scenes even start to annoy you, like, can you go on with the plot, please?
Oh yeah, for sure. It never stops. It's constantly every other scene. The thing with the show is it's basically a soap opera, and the melodrama goes into ecchi. That's it. That's all it is. And it's goofy and silly and funny. I do not put it on the same level as other anime, nor would I compare it to an isekai harem story. So no, I would not do that.
Her sister, the mother, just about every woman with a pulse is trying to ride his dick. It was a show designed for fan service for kids who hadn't figured out how to watch real porn yet. The character at the center of all of it being the character equivalent of cardboard. Ryo's only characteristics are being nice, loyal to his friends, always so fucking kind, and rising to the occasion whenever it's time to do that.
That's normal. These are all normal traits in a guy his age dealing with crazy women. So
there are also positive traits that are just encouraged through display on screen.
Again, that doesn't seem to be the problem with the writers. It is a problem with the audience who wants that type of this type of trope. I'm trying to be as much as charitable to Sarcastic Chorus because I think he can see see the trope, see the oversaturation, but I don't think it isn't a necessarily problem. It's just how the Japanese market works.
Yeah,
and sometimes, so you can see that with games, for example. Like everyone craps on microtransactions, but everyone kept using microtransactions, and now it is kind of normal. Like there is so much you can say for when you go.
Right. And
no, you go on, Smut.
Yeah, I was going to say that this is no different than the concept for, I don't know if you guys remember Urusei Yatsura, which was the alien princess invader Lum or whatever she was called back in the 80s.
Yes.
And it's the same setup, exactly the same setup almost, but ecchi.
You just chose the genre inventor, the trope inventor.
Yeah, I mean that's what we're getting.
Like
we're getting
Love Ina invented the harem. Love Ina invented the harem. Usura Yatsura invented the magical girlfriend suddenly appearing.
Yep. Yeah, that's all it is. It's those two genres combined with a lot of ecchi, and that's the whole story. So if you want to compare that, you got to compare it to something that's relatable to it, not harem anime in isekai. That's something very different.
Yeah, you look at the Wheel of Time books in fantasy writing. Not the show. The show doesn't exist.
Okay.
It also has nothing to do with the books, but that's another.
Whoa,
that's another
there's
story.
I didn't know there's a Wheel of Time show.
There isn't. But what Wheel of Time effectively is you take parts of Lord of the Rings, you take parts of Dune, you take parts of Mormonism, and then you stir it around, add a little bit of your own stuff, and bam, you get Wheel of Time. So that's two or three other big things that came before it, and it makes a okay thing. Because the rest hinges on the ability of the author, which okay. It's not breaking any barriers, if we're honest, but it's something you can have read in your life, and only may regret about 3 of the 13, 14 books.
Well, in regards to this show, he has to compare individual elements, and all he did was list the properties of the protagonist, which proved to me he's not a blank slate. There's actually some substance to this character. If he's constantly being seduced and he's always being nice, he's always avoiding the seduction, he's always like, no, you're a person, I'm not going to take advantage of you, you're throwing yourself at me, and I want to make sure everyone's my friend, and I'm not ready to be an adult, or whatever the reasoning is. So that's a good thing. Because as soon as he gives in, the story's over. You know, what are you gonna do? He sleeps around. That's the whole show after that. So, yeah, this is part of the comedy. That's part of the drama. Who is he going to end up with? Is this cute? Because the darkness chick gets her own show. Like she's the assassin sent to kill him, and she ends up grudgingly falling in love with him as the story goes. So it makes no sense. It's a dumb love comedy. That's the whole point. So as soon as you take that away, you want to bring your logical brain to it, you go, oh, well, of course he should stop acting like a child and grow up and grow as a character and be a man and choose, and that's that. It's like, yeah, but then the story would be over. So
And
the story is getting
probably
to that point, technically.
And probably the audience who watches this would probably get mad. I don't know. Maybe not. But
yeah, so you have to understand the nature of the drama. What is this story about? What's the content? And if it is about a bunch of girls seductively trying to capture a guy, that's a little different than an isekai power fantasy.
What girl besides childhood girlfriend the main character ends up with is otherwise the point of a visual novel, where that point is made up to you.
I think he sees he's almost seen their problem, that the problem is the Japanese watcher. The Japanese want this. It's not like that we can control what the studios and the mangakas are doing, because they are mainly doing for themselves.
Half and half. Have you heard about an explosion of the incest trope in Japanese hentai? And why that happened?
What did you say? The explosion? What was it?
Yeah, there's an explosion of incest porn in hentai. Real and anime. And that happened because the guy who controls most of the industry at this point has that fetish. It's not because of any audience interest, it's because the guy who runs the show has that.
You mean MindGeek wants that.
I have not remembered the name.
MindGeek is the company who owns all the porn industry, including Japanese hentai.
That's the reason why everything there has now this trope, or why it is so prevalent. Maybe there's something similar going on with the recent rise of the Netorare trope, which I find absolutely abhorrent and like counter to everything I know from Japanese media.
Yeah. All right. Well, either way, I hope this guy's going to get to a more rational comparison. Just saying I don't like Rito from this show because he has these positive traits is not much of an argument to say the show is bad. It just means you just don't like the content. Or his everyman status is not good enough for him or whatever he doesn't like. Anyway.
He's mainly complaining about the trope itself.
Yeah. Okay.
Every teenager thinks he is, saying he respects women and gets mad when they're mistreated, but he's also constantly ripping and putting them in compromising positions.
No. He is, as the writer puts him in situations, Rito is not like actively grabbing girls. Now, there are stories where, in that case, he's like brainwashed or someone else is controlling him and he ends up doing that, but it's never him attacking women. It never happens. Because as soon as you do that, as soon as you make him a pervert, it's like, okay, well then why isn't he going after all the girls? Why isn't he now doing that forever? Because he has a conscience. He's always apologizing, saying, sorry, I didn't mean to do that, or I slipped, or I didn't see. It's always some, oh no, goofy accident. It's always that way. And then he gets punched to the stars like he always does.
Fine, because it's never really his fault. He's just cursed. So that makes it okay.
Exactly. That's the whole... He's innocent. He's the innocent boy who has to make a choice to be a man, and he never gets there because if he does, the story would be over.
Yeah, no. Dorito here doesn't really exist as a character.
Yes, he does. He has constant conflict. He's constantly avoiding the girls, trying to get to school, trying to study, and all the magical, technological hijinks that happen as a result. It's a very flat character who he has heroic moments, but I mean that's just the nature of rom-coms. You have the male protagonist prove himself to the female, and she's like, "Oh, you're just all like all the others," and he has to do something selfless, and she notices that. And in this case, he's always been that way. It's always been his character. But Darkness, for example, sees him as a pervert because he's always getting into all these scenarios with all these girls. And then the time when it happens to her, she realizes, oh, it's not his fault. He is actually a good guy. But I'm going to be tsundere about it because I don't want him to know that, so I'm going to smack him around. And that's pretty much the entire other show of To Love Ru Darkness.
He is just here so that we can get titty and panty shots of women. He's a nice guy, and all the ecchi stuff that happens is outside of his control, which is the mental dissonance the story needs to create so the audience of young men can enjoy guilt-free. Because if this wasn't...
It's not guilt-free. It's nothing to do with guilt. That's the joke. He's constantly being assaulted by women, either by accident or by their own volition. He's the guy going, whoa, I'm sorry I didn't see you across there when we turned the corner. Or how did I get magically teleported into your bathroom? You know, there's all these stupid things that happen.
Intentional, we would be telling a completely different story.
Oh.
Japan has a way lower bar for a lot of what we would consider adult content. Shows that we would rate as 13 plus are just regular kids fare from...
That mainly has changed in the past decades. At this point, I have to say 30 to 40 years. Not 30 to 40 decades. We had much more gory and much more sexually, I wouldn't even say explicit in the sense of glorifying it as, oh look, there's a naked part of the skin exposed. Oh no, just as normal byproducts in regular movies where it's just it's not for sex appeal, it's just that daily things that normally happen where you come across that and nobody thinks anything of it. In the 80s there was nothing wrong with a woman's breast appearing on screen for a second or two when the context was natural for it. And nobody went all, oh god, I need to be embarrassed, and oh my god, oh my eyes, I'm dying, I'm going to hell. No, that wasn't the case. There was a much more natural, what is the word I'm lacking here?
Mature?
No, not mature. But it goes in that direction. Well, in the proper meaning of the word. People weren't just outraged by anything and I would almost say feeble-minded about these things.
Right. Yeah.
The same with violence. I told you about how they censored Naruto in Germany.
Oh god.
They could never show Demon Slayer in Germany.
Yeah, oh really? Huh.
There would nothing be left. Nothing would be left of the fucking show.
There were plenty of adult anime in the 80s that you could rent, or obviously if you had a VHS store you could rent that had them, that you would never get translated or dubbed rather. So yeah, Japan has a much freer form of expression for printed and animated stuff, which is great. So that's why I like the fact that these things exist. I like the fact there are adult stories that people can read and play and watch. Whether you like the content or not, the fact that they allow it is like, yes, you should allow your people to buy and sell art that they like. And no one's being offended. No one's like, oh, this is too mature. It's like, it's not for you. It says so on the label, who's it for. And if you don't like it, don't watch it. There's no like, we got to ban all these people talking about alien boobs and devils and angels. Is like, no, tell whatever story you want. That's the beauty of storytelling. So violence is always going to be an issue because the West thinks it's crazy to have violence on the screen for kids. But I say the more violence, the better. You got maybe not Fist of the North Star violence, but maybe a few steps behind that. Just to get it going.
If you rip out all the violence, and that means the consequence of violence from your kids' shows, the kids learn nothing about what violence means and what the consequences of it are. That's the point. Why we have the consequence of violence on screen, why we have the blood on screen, why we have the chopped off limbs on screen.
So I'm back. What did I lost? I was helping here at home.
Not much. Yeah, we're gonna wrap this up in about 4 minutes. I don't know. This guy's opinions aren't really jiving with me in terms of being an insightful guy who loves anime. He seems like a guy who just likes certain kind and just does not understand why. That's how I see him so far, unfortunately.
I had the feeling that
blood and murder to how it handles sex, it's a different culture that I am not qualified to talk about. But the harem genre today has the same problems as To Love Ru had years ago. Self-insert media is valid, but most of the shows that are harems feel less like stories and more like products.
Because they are.
Because that's the point. That's the point of every anime.
It's a product. Of course, it's a product. What else would it be?
And it sells you nice, pretty figurines you can buy at a corner at your specialties shop.
Yeah.
The point
and that's what a studio makes money.
The point of every story is the reader to have a favorite girl, and that's why you never will be. Certain stories have, but most stories go on lengthy issues to not have the final time because the readers and the watchers like to see their favorite girl with the main character. That's why, because they see themselves in the main character.
Mm-hmm.
Main character being just whoever's reading it, they don't have to try and develop it. Instead, focusing on what brings in that real body pillow money, the girls. The concept of best girl has been around forever, but it was allegedly first used in 2009. It perfectly encapsulates the fact that we don't give a fuck about the leading men of these shows.
I don't think he has earned the right to speak in the arrogant, haughty voice because he's just so flat in his thoughts and analysis and understanding of the whole thing. Just kept annoying me for a while.
shows. The girls.
Yep.
The ones we vibe.
That's what I'm going to say. He said it's all about the girls. Yes, that's the point of a heroine. It's not about the main character. It's about the girls.
Yeah, we went away from the tabula rasa character to harem's bad. Okay, cool.
About the girls. The ones we vibe with the most. Who's the hottest? Who's the funnest? Who is appealing to your hyper-specific fetish? A harem anime.
I mean, he's taking this on a very sexual level. There's nothing wrong with reading a rom-com and appreciating the characters for just their plot. I could watch an anime with my eyes closed. I'd be like, oh, this character's awesome, because we understand why she is the way she is, or why the way he is the way he is. So the visual element adds to it. It adds to the speed that you can appreciate or understand or read or watch the manga or anime. So I don't know why he's focusing on the sexual so much.
Yeah, and Monster Girls had most of the fleshing out content happening since the early 2000s. So before there was any anime made about it, there was fan content made after the initial inventor put his stuff online. And then it was fleshed out and used in RPG Maker games and so on and so on. That's where most of the sexual content happened with the Monster Girls, outside of the Monster Girl encyclopedia that the author was making. So in bringing up this example, misses, I'd say 90% of what is behind this thing. He's just seeing the last outcropping of a long line of stuff.
I'm kind of curious, yeah, because the Monster Musume, the characters, when he brings up a new character, whether it's female or otherwise, he fleshes them out. The author fleshes them out, so you know their background. What is the harpy? Why does she have a bird brain? Like all these elements that make you go, oh, I get why they are behaving the way they are. Why their plot is to be in this house with this guy. Why they like him. It's not just, oh, he's a cute guy and he gives me food, although maybe in one case that could be true. It's because there's this backstory. They have motives, they have plots, they have family issues. And yes, they are sexual. Yes, obviously the whole other backstory, or the whole other subplot is he has to have a partner or a mate or something like that. He chooses not to.
The whole why this is so fleshed out is because there's as I said, there's 20 years of world building about this silly concept of every mythological creature as a monster girl, as an anthropomorphized girl. And so you get this whole world, and then you have all these fans giving feedback through their own fan fiction and such, that you get a way of how this fantasy world that is full of these mostly predatory women who seek human men to reproduce their species even works, how that can even sustain itself. And that's how you then, after a long line, end up with this. You have this whole body of world building behind that, so that you can have something good at the end. It's a bit similar to
so far he's mainly criticizing the girls rather the everyman trope. That's right.
But something with the writing in Monster Musume, something similar happened in Made in Abyss, where somebody in the chat today, not in the YouTube chat, put it really well about Made in Abyss. That was initially just planned as a doujin, and it says a lot about the author, but he accidentally did so much world building that something great came out of it. Because he just had this really good world building idea, and that basically wrote itself. And there was a really good comment in the chat by Zero. He said, "I have a hypothesis. The people most upset about harem and ecchi are just sexually frustrated that they can't get laid, or at the very least, female attention." We've seen a similar thing with people complaining about certain types of sex stuff in Japanese media, and they always turn out to be pedophiles. So there might be something to that. There might be something to the frustration angle as well. And I think he sounds gay, so maybe he just doesn't like the emphasis with female characters everywhere because they annoy him as he can't get a hard-on due to them.
Oh.
I just don't watch because I had problems with porn addiction, so I mainly stay out.
All right. Well, in the story, I think the guy likes legs, and he has a preference to. That's why he's talking to the Arachne chick, and he admits that, and she's like, "Oh," and she just stops being a rebellious person. So that implying he's saying to her he likes her, and all the other characters are sort of like, "What? He likes legs? I'm a snake girl." Blah blah blah. So there's plenty of moments for the character to be a character, to flirt and take, because he's acting as their guardian. He's sort of taking care of them, making sure they're happy, fed, slept well, and goes to work or whatever. So it's kind of a story of just taking care of a bunch of women in his house. So that's it. He's a pretty wholesome guy. He never takes advantage of any of them, and it makes perfect sense. And the manga's hilarious. I don't know what yes, there's plenty of ecchi scenes. I get it. That's kind of the appeal. So
that's the soft version of Monster Musume.
Yeah. Then there's
the original is not soft.
The original is interesting, to say the least.
The original is mainly most monster girls reproduced by killing you during the act,
which was influenced by some RPGs from RPG Maker at the time. Yeah.
No. The RPG makers were influenced by the monster girls.
Oh, yeah? It was the other way around?
Incorporated. Yes. The original monster girls they all have this is what I was talking about. That's the ecology in that world. There are some who don't kill you, some who accidentally kill you because they're just so super strong, like what was it? The cowgirl, I think. She's just too strong. Something like that. And then you have the slime who, in order to get to your sperm, she eats you and dissolves you and digests you alive.
That's a word that I don't want to live in.
The succubus, she robs you of all your male energy, so she turns you into another succubus.
Oh, fun. All right, anyway.
Jesus, no, I don't want to live in this world.
Either way, the manga and the anime are funny. They're cute. Yes, there's some weird sexualized scenes, but it's all about a guy protecting his family, in a sense, who happen to be his extended, what would you call them? They come from another world, so they're like immigrants. And that's it. That's the story. It just doesn't really go any further than that. So, yeah, it's not a big
Zero said all harem anime are trash. Yep.
Okay.
Finish the sentence.
You could say all soap operas is trash. I agree. You're right. It is all the same. It's all just
all harem anime is all trash.
But that's a soap opera.
To be honest,
it's all coming from soap opera. It's all the same. Anyway, it's not a big deal.
That's true.
It's not a big deal. If you don't like Harlequin romances, if you don't like that genre, good for you. Don't read it. Don't watch it. It's no one's getting hurt. No one's having some mental breakdown over, oh my God, we're hurting the children or something. It's like, no.
And I barely dare say it, but there are even good soap operas out there.
Yep.
They just don't feel much like soap operas when you watch them because they're good.
Okay. We are at 8 minutes. I'm going to go from the 2. Because this person is really not, honestly, he's not giving any of these shows a fair shake. I don't think any of the ones he mentioned, even Sword Art Online, a fair shake. So, anyway.
They took an approach to romance. Instead of waiting to see how a couple ends up together, is just pouring gasoline on the fandoms, letting them fight to the death over who they want to see in his, or more accurately, their pants. All while selling merch made with less standards than the characters printed on them. Why write a compelling story about 3 childhood friends finding love when you can create 6 palette swaps and double your money? Why even bother giving him a
Those are not palette swaps.
face when you can just leave it a blank, except for the one time, just to make sure he's not an ugly bastard?
Oh, so you mean he actually has a personality and he cares about each of the girls' problems and their needs, and he goes out of their way to protect them? You mean that kind of personality? He's not a cardboard cutout, sir. I'm sorry.
are just that one genre that use the everyman / self-insert thing way too hard. And it just does not care if you know it's a scam. They're good ones.
How is it a scam? What are you talking about? What does that mean? So if I write a story about a soap opera where there's a love triangle or a love square or whatever, and it ends and no one gets hooked up, is that a scam? I would argue yes, because at the end of a love story, someone has to get married or someone has to hook up. Someone has to do it. You cannot have a story where that doesn't happen. Now, in anime, they leave a lot of open-ended stuff because the season is done. They don't get renewed. The manga got canceled or whatever. The mangaka got tired of doing it. That happens a lot. But if they wanted to write a finished story, if they had the funds to do so, they would have. And here's a great example of the essential quintuplets, where there was a definitive story, and then the fans wanted more. So what did he do? They wrote the ending for each of the quintuplets if he chose the other ones. So
it became a choose your story.
Well, it's basically, it's like the fans want more, and that's what happens with lots of writers where they don't want to do more. With Sherlock Holmes, with Poirot, just the fans want more. The publisher's like, why aren't you giving us more work so we can make more money? And he's like, well, I don't know, I don't want to do it. So, well, here's more money, go do it. Like, okay. So, the fans actively want the product you want, or that you made, even if you think it's crap. You see?
I mean, it would be a scam if I made a story about dinosaurs in space, but you read it is a story about some guy lost in an island.
Yeah, if it is,
that would be a scam.
If it turns out to be, it was all a dream at the end, angels come down and save everyone's soul or whatever, yeah, I'd be pretty pissed off. That would be a scam because the writer's a hack and he doesn't know what he's doing. Whereas if they don't get renewed or the writer just drops it and he realizes he doesn't... Sorry?
I would just say everyone was dead and the angels come. I just remember that Lost did it.
Yeah, Lost, Battlestar, all these stories that just ended. Oh, it was all a dream, like Twin Peaks. That pisses people off. That is not what they came for. They came for all that conflict, all that tension, and it has to mean something. It has to amount to something. It can't just go away.
There has to be a proper conclusion, yes. And otherwise it's as if it never was. And then the question is, what did I do all this time? Why did I think about this nonsense? But here's a basic exercise for what is currently on screen. And the question is, what is the fetish of the author?
Gingers.
I don't know. I've actually...
Matthews, you're brilliant.
I've actually read the story and all the iterations and watched the show. It's pretty much the same. There's obviously some bit of difference, but...
I never read this manga.
It's very obvious. It's all redheads. Except
I never read the story. I only know the girls, but I know that the Irish girl in the fourth place is the best girl.
They're even all blue-eyed redheads.
Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, there's 5 girls, they are literally genetically identical, so the same body proportions, etc. Different personalities, and one of them, we don't know which, is his childhood crush. They both like each other as kids, but they've forgotten who they were. And
the brunette in the middle.
No, but he is in school. He's poor, but he's the top of his class, and all of these girls suck at something. So he has to teach them to all pass the general high school level education exam to get on with their lives. And they gave it to him because all the other teachers failed. So he's a fully fleshed character. He wants to get to university. He has bills to pay. He's got problems. And now he's doing remedial work for these girls and giving them like textbooks that he has to rewrite to make them follow because they're all weird. And the girl on the second from the right is a complete airhead. She's dumb. She's just a jock pretty much. And everyone, like one is good at cooking, one is good at acting, and everyone's sort of their own thing. So whether that's a good thing in his mind, I don't know. But even if he was just a generic smart character who's I want to get into Tokyo U and I need a side job, that would have been totally fine too. Because it's not about his conflict. It's about the girls. What are they going to do with their lives? Can they pass this exam? Can they study? Can they figure out what they want to do with their lives after the fact? The main character, yes, he has a backstory with one of the girls, does have his own goals. And you could argue, well, because he's the protagonist, it's a rom-com, he has to then choose one of the girls. It's not really about that. It's not really about him choosing a girl. That's just the end of the story that you expect. It could be anyone. And that's how the story starts. The story starts with him marrying a girl. You don't see who it is because, again, they're all redheaded. You know, if you're made up with makeup and you're wearing a wedding dress, you can't really figure out what the hell, who's what. And that's how the story starts. So it's like, oh, he's going to get married. And then, boom, we go back to reality. He's in high school and he's trying to pay the bills. And the principal asks him to go tutor these kids. So it's not about that. That's made very clear very early on. So whether that's good or bad in his eyes, I don't know. But even if he wasn't that much of a character, even if he was a flat character, it wouldn't matter. Anyway, the fact I know this story is like, oh, talking too much.
Turns out, as a whole, it's a cash grab. But one done so successfully.
Oh my God. Yes, anime is a cash grab. So is every book ever written. Thank you.
Pretty much everyone just started doing it. Even if the main character has a girlfriend, he's gonna have.
No one has done quintessential quintuplets before. No one. I've never. There's been twins, there's been triplets maybe, but not quintessential quintuplets. Plus,
I think he meant the herring stuff.
Yeah, but plus two of the girls are kind of on the fence about liking the guy romantically. I think. I'm trying to remember. One of them for sure was not completely dedicated to him.
Memphis, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Do you remember that Assyrian tablet that was found in Ashurbanipal's library about this man who complained that society is declining and falling apart, and everybody is full of himself and writing his own book?
Yeah, I remember that. It's a funny tablet to read.
Over 4,000 years old in cuneiform, written written by stabbing
the first doomer.
A reed into a clay tablet over and over, and it's the same fucking problem 4,000 years ago.
What is the saying? No, there's nothing new under the sun.
Men are still men, women are still women. No one gives a shit.
We hope so.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's a really funny tablet. I hope if everyone goes check it.
I want a copy of that or print for my wall, and then people will ask me, "Oh, what's this about?" Like, here's the translation.
All right, let's go.
Have a harem, especially if he has a girlfriend. The most damning thing of all this, though, is how, as a genre, these shows are giving unrealistic expectations of relationship.
They're not supposed to give realistic expectations. Why would they?
What world does this guy live?
Do you think soap operas are realistic? General Hospital and Days of Our Lives, those are realistic depictions of people?
I woke up from my coma. But I have amnesia.
And suddenly I'm a billionaire.
But I remember you.
And I've inherited all these cars and women for no reason. What the fuck?
And I did not actually die.
It was my twin
sister. That was my evil twin. I remember my amnesia. and actually I am the evil twin, and you lost your love, the love of your life. Ha ha! Because it was all me all along. Writes itself.
Yeah, no.
Just like all these tropes.
It's not ruining a generation, but it's definitely not helping.
How is it not helping? You're making a fun, entertaining thing on the weekends or whenever this is broadcast for young adults to laugh and have a good joke about.
He's a typical Anglo prude.
This is a weird take to say, you're not hurting people, but you're not helping them either. It's like, okay, dude, do you want us to go play outside? Like, what do you want us to do? You want us to get exercise and eat right? Like, what is your moral compass telling you the youth of this generation should not be watching To Love Ru? Like, what are you getting at here?
They should be preparing for war.
You should be going to church every Thursday and Friday. Oh, boy.
My question is rather, why is he watching all this shitty anime? Watch the good
because
stuff.
He's bored. He's bored. He's trying to find something.
Learn a skill.
The thing that the girls
Learn to
and
draw,
boys
learn to
like,
write your own thing. Have it adapted by Tohei.
Read a book about birds.
The rom-com with the sexy girls is bad. It's like, oh no. What are we...
it goes back to what I said in the beginning. Read a thesaurus.
Oh. Have more vocabulary. Yeah, okay.
As the no-bones approach to the genre, with its focus on mass-marketing waifus on the blandest men alive, the only real way these shows can sell the idea of this kid's a sex symbol is either A, some bullshit about him being innately special,
No, he's your you even said it yourself, he's the everyman. And believe it or not, the everyman's a nice guy who cares about people and what's inside, not what they look like.
I think he hasn't been
that's pretty much.
out much. He's not been outside much.
And he's
you go to any metal festival and there's lots of girls. You might even marry one. Well, not usually, but you might talk to one.
You will certainly talk to one, yes.
You certainly have a topic to talk about, which is metal. What better topic to talk about?
I don't get how this guy is like fantasy, adventure. How is this realistic? This is not good for kids. Like, what are you talking?
I wouldn't have a problem if the video was named "I don't like the everyman trope," because you can dislike or like tropes. Like I don't like heroines for one reason, because I think they are trash normally. But if you like to watch heroin, who am I to say if you can't watch it? It's the same thing with the everyman. Like you can dislike the everyman, but you can say that it is the problem of the industry.
I'm just gonna start a timer on when it comes out that this guy is a sex predator.
Oh, let's not.
It's always when they're super crude about this stuff.
Let's hope not.
Let's go on.
Always when they're super prude or when they white knight for feminists, then it's just like, okay, about 20 days, and then a news article.
Let's go for another 40 seconds and stop.
Let's hope
How's
not.
that? Let's just stop after 40 seconds. I don't want to keep going.
He's not said anything new in the last 5 minutes, I think.
Well, my notes are all just like, dude, this is wrong because of X. This is right because of Y. Why did you go the other direction? Like, it's just all straightforward, basic criticism that your premise is wrong. Let the thing be the thing, and just don't watch the thing you don't like.
Making him desirable almost in spite of his everything. Or B, the women have no standards. Which is just...
They do. He's a nice
look
guy.
At you instead.
He's a nice guy who helps them. He's like, oh, what a great guy. Hey, wow, he held me before I fell down. What a gentleman.
Yeah, not the fake nice guy, which is what we usually call the nice guy these days, but the genuine...
Yeah, and
nice person.
Remember the
good guy.
Remember the Monster Musume girls, the team orc or whatever they are, ogre. There's the big girl with the horn and the Cyclops girl. He's like he actually looks at the like straight in the eye and says, "Oh wow, hi, how's it going?" And she's like, "Oh my god, he's actually looking at me like I'm not a freak," because he cares about talking to people as people, not as monsters or whatever.
Not as their surfaces.
Yeah, this is so simple, straightforward crap, dude. This is like, oh, why is the everyman liked? Because we are the everyman. We want to be like the everyman. We want to have our biases thrown to the side and go, oh, we are more noble and kind and caring and listening and more responsive than others.
To good people, other people aren't just buddies. And with B-O-D, not B-U-D-D.
Anyway, 30 more seconds.
I mean that these dudes will try their hardest to say one nice thing once and not be rapists.
What?
What?
I'm telling you, insecurity is coming through.
What is
this?
he?
Is his fake? He's sexually frustrated.
I don't want to make any judgments, but this came from nowhere.
Red flag.
I'm going to stop right now. I don't think if that's what he thinks is going on in these characters' minds or the protagonist's mind, where they freak out whenever they get close to a girl or they ram into someone's crotch or whatever the case is. Yeah, I think he's missing.
Did I call it?
That came out of nowhere.
Did I call it or what?
What is he talking about?
He's actually repressed and has rape fantasies. And that's why he suddenly says the quiet part out loud, because it's stuck in his throat and it needs to get out. And
so
I don't want to make that conclusion, but yeah,
so
it was out of nowhere.
you don't make it because of your religion. That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't have your religion. I will make the judgment.
Okay, well, the conclusion to the video is anime's Everyman problem is he thinks they secretly are rapists. That's what he thinks. So.
We're gonna end in this.
Yeah, I think we're done with this gentleman. Let's get on with any memes. I'm sure we have some memes that people love. People love anime, and anime is good and wholesome and all kinds of good wholesome memes, right? Right, guys?
You have ideas.
Let's see what we got here. This is today. What is today? Today's the 23rd. No. Okay, let me keep going.
Oh, we don't have stream memes.
We have no stream
Wow,
memes.
no stream
Impressive.
memes.
Wow.
Shame on chat.
That's okay. I thought anime and Monster Musume and all those other animes would have gotten people to talk, but that's great. No problem, guys. No problem here.
I think this was a perfect note to end on anyway.
I don't like it. This guy must be a rapist. It's like, okay. Oh boy. So yeah, guys, if you enjoy your rom-coms or your ecchi anime or manga, point out the scene where the guy thinks he's going to rape a girl or wants to rape. Like, just go ahead and just tell me about it, because I want to know when that happens. Jesus. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. That was Anime Monday. Have a good one. Keep warm. It's getting cooler these days, in case you haven't noticed. So
it's global warming.
Oh no. Yeah, it's global warming where everything gets cooler. That's right. Yeah.
It's called winter.
Anyway, have yourself a great night. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Keep voting going. Keep the suggestions coming. And see you later. Bye-bye.
Good night.
See ya.